Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator Wednesday update. Today we're going to be covering the weather for the second half of the week of November 8th until November 12th. So starting off with our WBC outlooks, let's take a look at our various fronts that we are expected to see this week. Starting off with this one front that's further ahead, kind of situated in the Central Plains into the Central Midwest, and then one that's kind of to the north in the Northern Central Plains and the Northern Midwest. And these two cold fronts are expected to kind of combine around Thursday into Friday. Sorry, mainly around Thursday, they are expected to combine. And with the forcing of the northern front, which is expected to be more quicker than the southern front, that should quickly push the northern half of that cold front into the Atlantic Ocean sometime by Friday into Saturday. And all of this is expected to be backed up by the subtropical jet and the trough that is also attached to this low pressure system in cold front in the north. So, but however, mainly it's going to be the subtropical jet. So that's the main thing that's going to be backing this cold front. Um, Overall, we aren't expected to see too many impacts from this system long term. However, on Thursday and today, we are expected to see possibly some more significant impacts in the north with that low pressure system that the first cold front is attached to, with the possibility of some freezing rain and some icing up through Michigan into the New England area from New York into Maine. Again, we are expected to see some freezing rain and icing on the roads, which could potentially be a significant hazard in the New England area there into Michigan. So you definitely want to be staying weather alert if you live in the affected area and you have any plans on driving on Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure when that ice should melt. However, you definitely do want to be keeping that in mind if you live in the affected areas and you do have any plans driving. Overall, the freezing rain is one impact, but we are also expected to see some snow with that, as well as some general thunderstorms and some rain showers. Um, and because this cold front is expected to be backed by the subtropical jet, which is expected to be mostly extending out of Mexico into the Central Plains, from Texas into the southern Midwest up into Tennessee, the majority of our rainfall for the southern half of this cold front is expected to be back towards the south here, with the threat of some general thunderstorms and rain showers. Extending from the southern half of the United States, from Texas into possibly North Carolina, mainly fueled by the subtropical jet. We are expected to see a very, very small amount of instability here. We aren't expected to see a crazy amount of instability. It is expected to stay in the triple digits. However, that could potentially lead to maybe a very, very low end threat for severe thunderstorms. However, overall, it's too far. It's too hard to tell this far out. There's no forecasted areas for severe thunderstorms as of right now, but there may be a threat for severe thunderstorms on one of these days. But overall, that threat is fairly low. Um, However, for the timing of this cold front, we are expected to see the northern half of that cold front go out into the Atlantic Ocean sometime around the 9th. So for Thursday into Friday, we are expected to see that cold front in the north go out in the Atlantic Ocean. And then for the southern half of that cold front, it's going to be much slower because it doesn't have the forcing. The almost direct forcing from the subtropical jet as the rest of the cold front does. So that's going to be causing it to be much slower. As you can see, this is kind of the path that we are expected to see the subtropical jet take. It's expected to be a little bit more parallel to the southern half of that cold front, with a little bit more forcing, a little bit more perpendicular to the cold front in the north, combined with that trough that the other low pressure system um, that is expected to combine with the subtropical jet. There's going to be a little bit more forcing in the north. However, the southern half of that cold front is expected to make its way out into the Atlantic Ocean sometime from Saturday into Sunday or early next week. Again, it's going to be anywhere from Saturday into early next week. So overall, that's all you really have to look out for as far as the weather for this week. Now let's take a look at Let's take a look at the excessive rainfall outlook. As of right now, we don't have any threats for flash flooding that is currently forecasted. However, with the amount of rainfall that we are expected to see out of the subtropical jet with that cold front and the longevity of those rain showers in the south, we may be able to see an additional marginal threat for some flash flooding in some areas. But overall, there are currently no forecasted areas for flash flooding, but that doesn't mean that they aren't going to change between now and then. Now let's take a look at our winter weather outlook and the threat for heavy snow. For today, we are expected to see some heavy snow for Colorado, and then for the rest of the week into next week, we are expected to see some snow for the Northwest, mainly in Washington into northern Idaho, and then on day 7, which I think should be around Tuesday or Monday of next week, we are expected to see some snow extend down into California. So that's where you are expected to see our heavy snow this week. Now let's take a look at our severe weather threats. For today, we don't have any forecasted areas for organized severe thunderstorms, but we could see some general thunderstorms and some rain showers for the Ohio River Valley into Michigan and the New England area. And then as for day 2, which will be tomorrow, we are expected to see some general thunderstorms and rain showers in Texas into the southern Midwest because of the subtropical jet out of the Pacific Ocean into Mexico. And then as for day 3 outlook, it's going to be sort of in that same area there, but mainly back into Texas, also because of that subtropical jet out of the Pacific Ocean into Mexico and out into Texas. So those are the areas for our thunderstorms. Currently, there are no areas for organized severe thunderstorms currently forecasted, but as I was mentioning previously, we may have a little bit of instability that could potentially support a very low-end threat for severe thunderstorms. But overall, things are expected to change between now and then, so definitely be paying attention to updates if you are concerned about severe weather this week in any of the affected areas. But as of right now, the threat for severe thunderstorms does seem very low. Now let's take a look at our jet stream pattern in our weather models for this week. Starting off with the subtropical jet that is expected to be backing this cold front for the majority of this week. As I was mentioning previously, that low pressure system in the north there, and that trough attached to it is expected to be that secondary cold front back behind the first cold front that is expected to be impacting the northern half of the United States, the northeastern half of the United States, around the Ohio River Valley, New England area, which is expected to be making that cold front in the north significantly more faster compared to the south. And as I was mentioning, let me run the model run just a little bit back so you can see a little bit more of what I'm talking about. You can see the subtropical jet out of the south. Let's follow our ISO bars here, and you can see that in the north we are expected to see much stronger mid-level flow that is expected to be more perpendicular to more perp more perpendicular to the cold front and allow it to push eastward more faster compared to the rest of the cold front, compared to the much weaker mid-level flow further down south. And you can see mainly around the Gulf of Mexico and the extremely far south areas, it is mainly parallel to the cold front. So we don't have as much forcing down south as we do up north. And it's going to be kind of limited to the progression of the subtropical jet eastward over the next couple of days. That's going to be the primary thing that pushes it eastward, um, combined with the weaker mid-level flow further down south. And again, we are expected to have quite a bit of rainfall because of the subtropical jet in the south. So that is going to be about it as far as 500 millibars. There wasn't really a lot to cover for it. Now let's take a look at our timing for our rain showers, our snow, and our freezing rain. As you can see, for today we have the area of low pressure in the north bringing some snow, freezing rain, and icing, as well as, again, some snow. And this is expected to enter the New England area in the very late afternoon hours into tomorrow, going north into tomorrow, into Maine. And I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure when this is going to begin melting. So we may have ice that could stay for a couple of hours to possibly a day. But again, I'm not too sure about when the ice is expected to begin melting. So overall, that ice could be staying for a little bit of a long time. So again, it's definitely important that you stay weather alert if you have any plans driving in the areas that could potentially have iced over roads. And then let's take a look at the rest of the U.S. You can see a ton of rain for the Central Plains into the Midwest. This rain is expected to begin in western Texas around the early morning hours of tomorrow, and really impact the southern Central Plains in the southern Midwest into the deep South and Ohio River Valley on the 9th, the 10th, as well as the 11th. But on the 11th, it is expected to weaken down significantly. It's a band of rain showers for the far deep south into Florida, and kind of pick back up again on the 12th, and then exit into the Atlantic Ocean. And further down south, we aren't expected to have any threat for snow whatsoever, but it does look like some of the models are indicating maybe a little bit of isolated snow for New Mexico there. But overall, we aren't expected to see any snow outside of the areas that I previously mentioned. Taking a look at our temperature models, but this we're going to be primarily focusing on how far down our temperatures are expected to be dropping from this cold front, as well as how our temperatures are expected to be recovering across the United States behind this cold front, as well as where our temperatures are currently. So, as of right now, we are expected to see some fairly warm temperatures for the vast majority of the United States that hasn't been already affected by this cold front. In Texas, we are expected to see temperatures that could be getting into the 90s. That is definitely summer-like temperatures, and is definitely way above average. And overall, it's going to be fairly hot across Texas ahead of that cold front. Things are expected to cool down, and hopefully in the areas affected by those warm temperatures, those that should definitely cool down to more fall-like temperatures behind this cold front. And overall, we are expected to see temperatures more widespread in the rest of the United States, mainly across the eastern United States into the deep south, excluding the New England area as well as Michigan and the northern Midwest. We are expected to be seeing temperatures that are going to be getting into the 70s and 80s for the areas that I mentioned previously. Now let's take a look at how far down our temperatures are expected to be dropping behind this cold front. This cold front is expected to be a full sweep of the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see, it kind of diffuses across the far deep south in northern Florida. So it's not going to be a full sweep of the Gulf of Mexico. Um, but temperatures are expected to be dropping into the 40s and 30s at night across the Ohio River Valley, getting into the deep south, and then into the 50s in the far deep south, as well as some of the 60s in far south Texas. And Florida's not really going to be all that affected. It should stay quite warm. However, in the New England area, especially at night, we are expected to see temperatures that could potentially be getting to freezing and below freezing, as well as some areas for the Rocky Mountains, as well as the northern central plains of the northern Midwest behind that secondary cold front. We are expected to see temperatures that could be getting below freezing as well. However, the central plains is expected to stay quite warm and kind of recover pretty quickly with temperatures that are going to be getting back in the 60s almost immediately back behind that cold front. It may take a day or two for those temperatures to return, but this is going to be due to the very strong return flow out of the Gulf of Mexico that is going to be keeping temperatures quite warm in the central plains. Taking a look at our dew points, I want to be focusing on our return of instability to the central plains and the rest of the United States. As you can see, we currently have dew points that are getting up to the mid and possibly close to the upper 60s. However, we are not expected to see all that much instability with this strong moisture. So with the moisture that we do have, but the lack of instability that would be ample enough to really support a notable threat for severe thunderstorms, we aren't expected to see the threat of severe thunderstorms for today, but as I was mentioning previously, we may be able to have a little bit of instability to possibly support the threat of a weak severe thunderstorm threat on one of these days as we exit this week. Now let's take a look at our total rainfall accumulation, where we are expected to see the majority of our rainfall. And overall, the models haven't really changed all that much. We are expected to see tons of rain for the northwest with some of those frontal systems that we are expected to see impact that area, as well as the northern Ohio River Valley, as well as into the New England area with that low pressure system. And then mainly across the deep south, where we are expected to see a ton of rainfall, with some areas seeing up to possibly 2 inches of rainfall in Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And this does go with the possible threat of some flash flooding threats on one of these days. Overall, the threat for flash flooding should be fairly isolated and fairly marginal. Uh, Even if there are no currently forecasted areas for flash flooding, things could definitely change between now and then, and we may be able to see a flash flooding threat on one of these days. Taking a look at our total snowfall accumulation, I'm not going to spend too long on this, but I am definitely going to be going over the areas where we are expected to see some snow and where we should see the majority of our snow. Um, we are expected to see a ton of snow for the northwest there, with snowfall totals on the GFS models that may not be all that accurate, getting up to 55 inches of total snowfall accumulation. Of course, some of that is going to melt, but between now and the 12th. But overall, total snowfall accumulation models are seeing up to 55 inches total of snowfall for northern Washington there. So we are expected to see a ton of snowfall for the northwestern area, specifically in northern Washington there. 55 inches. Again, I don't think that's going to be too accurate, and snow is definitely going to melt. Um, and then we are expected to see some snow for Colorado into New Mexico. We are expected to see some snow possibly in the Appalachian Mountains for parts of West Virginia into maybe parts of Maryland and Virginia. And then we are also expected to see some snowfall for the northern Midwest for North Dakota, South Dakota, Michigan Panhandle, as well as maybe some parts of far northern Michigan, as well as the New England area. So that's the areas that we are expected to see our snowfall. And then to finish it off, we're going to be taking a look at our freezing rain quantitative precipitation. Um, to get an idea of where we are expected to see our icing. And you can see mainly it is going to be in the New England area into parts of Canada. Currently, we actually have a slight risk for ice in New York. There, that's what that orange thing is right there. That's a slight risk for ice, but we are expected to have quite a bit of freezing rain for quantitative precipitation values, getting up to 0.39 inches. So it is definitely going to be fairly iced over in this area and could potentially make driving fairly hazardous in the areas affected. So again, it's definitely important that you stay weather alert if you live in the affected areas and you have any plans on going out in the car. Again, definitely make sure you are taking the necessary precautions when driving. Now that I've told you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator and join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator. And if you live in any of the areas that I covered for today, please stay weather alert for the time being. And if you notice anything might have been wrong with this forecast, or you would like to make a suggestion, please leave a comment and I will read them. Two other channels that I highly suggest you check out are One Nation Weather and Weather Watcher. They are amazing at what they do. If you want more weather content, their channel links will be in the descriptions, and hopefully I will be able to see you guys tomorrow with another forecast.